I used to have this idea of what it means to chase a dream, but through my recent experiences, that idea has changed. It was only a month ago that I uploaded this little, idea essay. It was only a minute long. I'll leave it in the cards so you can watch, so you can kind of compare what I was thinking about back then. And it was only a month ago, but when I was thinking about a month ago versus what I'm thinking about now, having gone through like a new part of my life, a new part of my story, new chapter of my life, having been on my pro football trial for a little bit, what I've kind of learned about what it means to chase a dream. And the title of this podcast episode, it's a little bit I don't know how to describe it. Like it's a little bit funny, let's say. But it kind of is true that to chase a dream is not necessarily to chase the dream. Now, it's like, well, that doesn't make any sense. How does that make any sense? Allow me to explain, and that's what I'm going to be doing this episode. What I used to think was the pursuit of that extraordinary, improbable type of goal that's like super hard to achieve and pushes you to your limits type of thing. That there's no greater fulfilling thing in your life than pursuing a goal like that. Not necessarily because you're going to achieve it, but just the process of pursuing it is proving that you're making the most of your time on this planet type of thing. So you're becoming the most fulfilled as a result of chasing that improbable dream. But what I've learned, maybe, and what I'm going to consider, and you can, of course, like look at this episode, compare the ideas, and figure out what you would like, and kind of take it how you will. But perhaps it's not necessarily about the dream itself. It's about what you become, the type of person you become, the growth that you experience, and like who you become along the way of the journey. It's not necessarily the pursuit itself. It's about the type of person you become along the way. It allows you the dream, the idea of this dream and pursuing this dream, it allows you to push the boundaries of what you thought you were capable of. It allows you to show yourself what's truly possible, to prove to yourself that you're good enough, to prove to yourself that you work hard enough, that you have that discipline to develop and be better, and compare yourself to your past self and see how much you've grown as a person as a result of the dream that you've been pursuing, regardless of the outcome of it. I think that's a big important change that I'm making to this idea of what I think it means to chase a dream, to pursue a high hard goal like that. And as I myself have that type of a dream, that high hard goal that I've been pursuing, becoming a professional football player, soccer player, whatever you want to call it, having gone through it, I think the person I've become is much more significant and important to actually achieving that dream. Because I think it's very easy to make the dream your God, right? It's easy to make this high thing. Oh, this is the thing I'm pursuing. This is the thing I'm achieving. It takes your mind off of, it takes your mind and your focus off of the real God, right? But like your dream becomes your God. And then when you make something like that your God, as you know, and you're only focused on pursuing that, perhaps actually getting there isn't as fulfilling as it is. It's the common cliche that you see everywhere about, like, reaching, money, monetary, financial success, and it not actually satisfying you because you're always on the pursuit and the constant pursuit for more and more and more, and then that slowly destroys you in the end. That happens to many people. Many rich people fall into that exact trap. You're rich and you're depressed because you've put the focus on the wrong things. So perhaps the dream and achieving of it isn't actually going to be as fulfilling, as amazing, as wonderful as you might seem to think in your head. And it's unfortunate because it would be real nice if it was. And maybe sometimes it is, but I think vast majority of cases it isn't. And with that in mind, pursuing the dream, taking it too far can be a very dangerous thing when it comes to like your own life contentment, peace, happiness, fulfillment, all that kind of stuff that we're really all trying to achieve here every single day. It kind of puts a blocker on that because you're trying so hard and you're making all these sacrifices and you're suffering so much to try and reach this goal, and then you get to that goal and it's not actually what you thought it would be, and you kind of regret wasting all that time, or maybe you just like have to push through and you have to go through an even longer season of suffering to get there. And then you're just you just end up sitting there with a little bit of regret, being like, why didn't it fulfill all the things that I wanted to fulfill? Why am I not feeling fulfilled as a result of it? And perhaps that means that you're looking at it the wrong way. That the achieving of a dream, the pursuing of a goal is not necessarily for the pursuit of it. You're not necessarily doing it because you want to achieve it. And if you are, maybe that's not actually a good thing. That's why this idea has kind of changed for me. It's about the person you become. It's about proving to yourself what's possible, what you're capable of, because that's a skill. And that's that self-confidence that you can give yourself that is able to be transferable and applied to every single other situation in your life. It's not something that just goes away. If you're able to be super dedicated and super consistent and super disciplined in one thing, it's much easier to translate that to another thing versus the actual, like, oh, you become like whatever it is. I don't know. Let's say you became a doctor and you were a doctor. Well, then at that point, there's not really a whole hell of a lot you can do, like extra. Like you'd have to go back to school and completely start over again to do another career if you become a doctor and you don't really like it, for example. And that just, again, it just takes more years off your life, more time that you could be spent doing, I don't know, more fulfilling, more enjoyable things, more fulfilling things. And instead you've just spent all your time going for this dream and you're not sure if it's actually what you wanted to achieve. But you always can look back on the person you've become and say that, yeah, it was all worth it because I have improved so much in who I am and in the strength that I have demonstrated as a result of pursuing this dream. If that makes any logical sense, if that speaks to you at all, and if you haven't figured it out yet, I'm basically talking about myself. I'm talking about my own dichotomy that I live with every day and that I'm thinking about every day. Like, is becoming that pro footballer actually what I want to achieve? Or is it just because I'm trying to become a better person, to go against the norm, to go against the grain, and prove that I'm good enough and achieve good successes, and football is just the way that it has happened for me? Football has been the dream since I was a kid, and it's always been amazing, but then it's for the longest time it's just been slowly draining. And then after going through this recent trial where I'm most likely not going to be going back because they didn't think I was good enough, like, simply put, like, just point blank, that's the reason. I look at it and it's like, what type of a person have I become? Even if this thing hasn't worked out, the person I've become can be translated into something else that might allow me to reach that level of success that I want to have, right? You can call it cope. But even if my football dream will probably not be realized, I'm still happy with the journey and the person I've become. And I compare myself to my past self, myself when I was like 17, 18 years old, when I was just leaving Canada to go to Portugal to pursue this thing. And not just on the field how I've developed immensely, but also off the field. Obviously, mentality wise, I still have problems. I think I get angry now at when things don't go my way, whereas back then I would like kind of fall into my shell and get more internally disturbed and sad. Now I let it out, which is, whatever you want to say. It's not necessarily better, but I think the frequency of which those occurrences happen are much lower than they were. Like, my mentality has grown a lot. I've been put through a lot of tough situations, a lot of pressure, a lot of fearful moments. I've stepped in, walked through the fire, trial by fire, and I've improved a lot mentally as to, like, just discipline that I can do, what I'm capable of, being able to wake up early in the morning, go out for a run, and like be super ultra disciplined on that pursuit, focusing on spending my days in a more fulfilling, meaningful way, which again, that's also on and off, and that's been on and off. But the person I've become in comparison to the person I was, the naive, kind of maybe slightly overly arrogant, but also, like not working hard enough type of guy when I made that initial move from Canada to Portugal, in comparison to who I am right now, I think it really is night and day. And I think that growth is also down to my faith that I've grown spiritually, how I've grown closer to God, and how I try my best, although I'm not perfect with it. I try my best to live by his principles, and I think that has helped me give me a lot more structure and help me truly become better and grow and show myself what is possible, show myself what I'm capable of, and push those boundaries and push those barriers, and just like kind of fulfill my potential every day in the work that I do, in the discipline that I show. And those things are way more frequent and way more visible than back before I left. I think not only have I become a better player, and I've seen that I've become a better player very clearly, I've also become a more mentally strong person and a lot more disciplined in comparison to back then. Now, I'm not perfect. There's still way more room for me to grow, not just from a spiritual perspective, but also just like from a mental discipline perspective. Again, if you watch some of the previous episodes of the podcast, like I'm talking about how I actually need to work more. I have to put more work in if I want to reach a very positive, successful future for myself. But like if you really were to compare me now to where I was back then, I think it's night and day. And the dream, the football was the facilitator of that. It was a facilitator to help me develop faith in God. And it was also a facilitator to help me become a stronger person, more disciplined, more well-rounded and sound-minded individual. It was really the constant. It was what allowed that to be possible. And now that I'm here and I'm perhaps starting a different path and a different journey of my life, I look back on that dream that I've had and the chasing of that dream that I've been on, and I say the biggest benefit of it is the person I've become, not necessarily the achieving of it. Even if I haven't achieved it, and again, as I said, you can call it me coping to the fact that I haven't actually made it and I wasn't actually good enough. And maybe you can put that down to my mentality, like maybe my mentality wasn't good enough either. You could call it cope, but I think it's all worth it. I think I look back on the journey and I think, as always, I wouldn't have it any other way. And I think it's because of the person that I am now rather than the actual pursuing of an improbable goal, which is the way I was perhaps a little bit mixed up in when I made my whatever you want to call it, idea, essay, reflection type of thing that I made a month ago. That might have been where I was a little bit off. I think what's more valuable than just the pursuit of it is the person you become. Because the person you become can be translated to every single other aspect of your life. And whereas the achieving of a dream sometimes destroys other aspects, right? You see it, man. You see the people that make it big, but they have to sacrifice their health or they have to sacrifice their relationships. Like they're never home to watch the kids, to take care of the wife, all that stuff. They're never home. They feel distant, or they grow fatter because they're sitting down all day and because they're trying to run a business or whatever it is. So they're sacrificing other also super important parts of their life and to what kind of constitutes general human happiness in favor of that dream, that high hard goal, that improbable pursuit. You see that people sacrifice those things. So perhaps it can get too far, and that's kind of what I was talking about in the beginning of this episode. It can go too far where you start to sacrifice those things and you're just sacrificing your happiness and you're suffering and going through pain and pain and pain, and then when the pain is supposed to be over, it actually isn't over. So it's a big I don't know, it's a big dichotomy. I'm still trying to wrap my head around this, and obviously I'm still super young. I'm only 20 years old. Like I still have a lot of time left in the future for me to pursue different things or the same things, or and find new levels of mental strength and mental fortitude and try my best to truly make it happen and take bigger risks and make bigger things happen. I still have a lot of time to do that. But I think having gone through what I've gone through and having reflected over the last few years of my life and having reflected over the last couple of weeks, being in Spain, giving it another shot on the pro football trial that I was on, having reflected on that, I think the person I become and the growth that I've had mentally is much more important and meaningful to me in terms of my like life's fulfillment than the actual pursuit of that dream. Because I think, like, what would have happened if I had just gone to university, taken the standard path as everyone else? Like, would I have experienced what I experienced? Would I have met the people I would have met? Absolutely not. Would I have, like, and I made a video yesterday about all the different people from different countries that I've met. Would I have that level of cultural diversity in my life with all the people that I've met? Absolutely not. So I think I look back on the entire journey and I say it was absolutely worth it. But even if I haven't made it, it's not necessarily about making it. If you make it about making that dream, it can be very easy to fall into distraught and despair when you fail to reach those heights, which by definition is what has happened to me. I failed to reach those heights, whatever you want to put it down to. If you look at it from that, like, oh, I have to reach this, or I'm not going to be fulfilled in my life, then, well, that's exactly how it's going to be. It's really all about how you frame it. And if I'm here and I say it's not necessarily about the dream itself, it's about the person you become, and I look at the person I've become and I've improved so much, then I can look back at it with a fondness, and I can look back at it with no regrets. And I live by the principle of living your life with as low regrets as possible. So if you can look back at the decisions you've made, the things you've pursued with little to no regrets of it, I think you're living a good life, and I think you're on the path to living a super fulfilling life. So I truly, in my own life, in my own pursuits, in my own experiences, think about these things, and I look back and it's like, yeah, it really is about the person I've become rather than the actual pursuit of the dream. And that's where I was wrong when I was thinking about the concept I was thinking of a month ago. That's where I was wrong. That I thought that perhaps it was the sheer pursuit of the dream that made the difference in life fulfillment, but it's maybe not even down to that. It's probably another level where it is the mental strength that you gain and the person you become along the way. That's where you find the fulfillment, because to reach something like that, you have to change. You have to truly deny your former self and make big changes to truly get up to that level, whatever it is, whether it be an athletic pursuit or it be business or it be you want to be a doctor or a lawyer or some highly educated intellectual type of person, or just a content creator, an artist, a writer, whatever the thing is for you. It might not even necessarily be about the thing, right? I love football. I love the sport. It really is just an amazing sport. But when there's all that pressure heaped on you, it becomes a lot more stressful. And the fun of it really does go away for me when there's pressure. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? I'm not so sure. But does that affect me? Does it affect my ability to actually make it? Probably. Probably. Because I think genuinely if I had fun every single day, I'd be a better player because there'd be no pressure. There'd be no mental barriers to overcome because I'd actually just be having fun. But I think if and that's also part of the whole like dream chasing type of thing, that once you lose that love, that fun, that enjoyment of the thing you're pursuing, then it leads to those exact same things that I've been talking about this whole episode, which is like you get to that level, but you spend so much time in the suffering and in the pain, you think that all of a sudden it's going to end, but it doesn't. It actually stays bad because you no longer are having fun. You realize that that it's kind of contentious, that it's amazing when there's no pressure, but now that you're at the top, now that you've reached it, that fulfillment, that level of fulfillment, the success you thought would bring you, that you thought it would bring you, isn't there. And then you're just wondering, like, what was the point? I think that is truly the case. And it could be me just coping by the fact that I'm not going to be making it. And, or if I do, it's still like even more unlikely than ever. But I think it's just about who you become. And once you make the dream your god and the only thing you're looking towards, you're gonna get there, and you're probably gonna be a little bit disappointed. And I think I can speak on that a little bit more, that like I have had moments in my life where I would think that this was the thing, and then it would happen, and then I'd be disappointed by it, and I would be underwhelmed by some experience or some individual thing that happened that I thought would be super good but didn't exactly turn out that way. for whatever reason. I perhaps, I know a little bit about thinking that it's going to be this way, having these super high expectations for the life that you're trying to live and the life that you think you'll be living if you achieve this thing, and then it not exactly being that way. So, really, the whole main point of this lesson, of this episode, is to kind of understand where you're at and understand that it is really truly about the person you become, because that journey, those changes you make, the pushing yourself past your limits, that's the fulfilling part of pursuing a dream, rather than the just the sheer improbable nature of it, which is what I had thought about in the past. The person you become, because again, if you grow and you become a great person, you're proving to yourself that you can be the type of person that would be worthy of achieving those things. But if you don't achieve those things, that means that it's absolutely applicable to transfer and translate the person you have become to another form of success and another form of pursuit in some way. And I think that is worth way more than just the pursuit of the dream on its own. It's about the mental development that you have along the way. As humans, we're purpose driven, and we always seek something to fill us up, something to drive us, to move us forward. That's why so many people like when they retire early, they feel like depressed, because they kind of have had this identity of working their whole life, and then that work has now been taken away from them, and they want to enjoy their retirement, but just psychologically they can't, because they've developed this identity, because just intrinsically as humans we want to work, because the work is what gives us purpose. It's what gives us like a real, tangible, visible, experienceable reason to live every single day. And the second that goes away for many people, like I'm talking like older people that retire maybe 10, 15 years earlier, once that gets away from them, they just kind of, they have nothing to do. So there's like, they've lost the purpose. So being purpose driven it means that it's important to have a dream. It's important to have something you want to achieve, regardless of how big or small it may be. If you don't have that foundation, that one big thing you want to achieve, or the multiple big things you want to achieve, perhaps, if you don't have that foundation, then how are you going to, live a good life? And if you want to achieve, if you want to live a fulfilling, happy life, how are you going to do that if you don't have an internal purpose? So the main thing is that internal purpose can really be just becoming the type of person that is able to achieve the successes, becoming the type of person that's able to become financially free, becoming the type of person that's able to be a godly man and act that out in the best way every single day, in the people around you, in who you are, being the type of person that is able to push through mental barriers, to be disciplined, to be successful in a sport or in some whatever other discipline, in the gym or whatever it may be. That's why I upload this podcast every single day for 365 days. That's why I said it. The main reason why I said it is to also, obviously, I'm trying to glorify God, and I'm trying to spread the words of his kingdom, of course. But also, another main reason why I've done this is to prove that I can actually stick to something for a year, no matter the circumstances, no matter the days. I'm sure you've seen where episodes are sloppy and episodes are a little bit less prepared for, and a little bit more all over the place, because I just simply didn't have the time. But I want to keep that consistency going, keep showing up every single day. That's a form of purpose. That's a form of mental strength and person becoming, if you want to call it that, right? Personal development, proving to myself that I can actually be disciplined, and despite the low views, and despite the much effort I put into it, and despite having to jump through hoops and jump around things to try and be consistent with it, which has been, things that I've had to deal with throughout these already, like, 130 days or so. It's been a ride, and that's the truth. But the main point of this whole section is about the purpose. and the purpose can be in becoming the person rather than the actual dream itself. Because and I can kind of translate this into like a godly teaching, a biblical teaching, let's say, that like the things of this world will go away, right? Like things will come and go. Dreams will come and go. Success will come and go. One pursuit, you maybe achieve it, you make it to the top, you're only at the top for a little bit. But being that person lasts way longer. Being the person that is capable, that is strong-minded, that is self-confident, that person, and you can only achieve that through development and through the pursuit of the dream itself. May you be able to achieve a level of personal development and improvement. That person lasts longer. Instead of the top and the height and the high of achieving that dream lasting at the most like 10 years maybe, the person you are lasts a lifetime. And then whatever happens when you die, I believe that you go to heaven. It's also down to the person you are and how obedient you are to God and all that stuff. If you're just a bad person and you're a weak-minded person, that you might also be sacrificing your salvation too. I'm not going to get too deep into that because that's a whole other topic for a whole other episode. But basically, the person you are lasts way longer, 5 times longer, 10 times longer than the high of achieving that dream you were pursuing. But the person you become as a result of that dream lasts way longer. So that's why I think that having gone through what I've gone through, it does make sense. It makes sense. It makes more sense to me that it's about the person you become than the actual achieving of the dream. And again, you can take this any way you want because you know my story at least well enough to know that I had this dream. It was a big dream and I haven't achieved it. And I probably won't ever achieve it. But so I'm saying this not having not achieved it. So maybe you do achieve it and it becomes absolutely everything you've ever imagined and desired. And you're able to ride the high for decades, and the money you make is able to keep you satisfied and fulfilled, and you're able to make this happen for the rest of your life. And you're not so focused about the person you've become, you're focused on the actual successes. Maybe. But I highly doubt it, having gone through what I've gone through and having, seen a lot of case studies from a lot of people all over the world. I think that is really not the case. That like you don't just all of a sudden be fulfilled for the rest of your life because you achieved that one dream. Because as I mentioned, we're purpose driven. We want growth, right? I said this in the last episode. I made a short about it, but like the second that you stop growing, changing, improving is the second that you accept that you're going to stay exactly where you are. And staying exactly where you are is a very, very assured and guaranteed way to be miserable and to not have fulfillment and to be sitting there with regrets, wondering what could have been. But it's the constant change, improve, growth that fills you up, that gives you purpose, that gives you meaning. And it can be done through the pursuit of dreams, but it can also be done through just the daily grind and whatever things you're working on, right? Like if you're working a job you don't like, why can't you just give your maximum effort to it every day to prove that you can be disciplined, that you work hard when you don't want to work hard? That's a question, and it's a question that has some validity to it, because being able to prove that to yourself is also a form of mental growth, and it's a form of just personal development and personal improvement. So I think, having kind of said all that I've said today, I've literally just spat it out, just laid it completely on the table, like the table, right? That this is I think the real thing we're trying to achieve. It's not achieving a goal. It's about becoming the person able to achieve big goals. And how godliness ties into that, how belief in God and faith ties into that. It's all included, because again, as I've talked about many times, like the being able to follow God's teachings actually helps you live a better life too. It's not just something that you have to do, but it's also proof that you can go against your own internal feelings to be mentally strong and disciplined in a godly manner as well. So, regardless of whatever angle you want to look at it, you're trying to be a godly man, you're trying to achieve big things, you're trying to be a formidable person, you're trying to be respected around the people around you, you're trying to be the type of person that means what they say, that is fearful of nothing, that has no fears. If you're trying to become that type of a person, it's all like regardless of what the what the context is, I think it is all about the person you're trying to become that gives you life fulfillment rather than the pursuit of the dream. So, I think I've laid it out there. I think I've made it as clear as I possibly could, and I think I've articulated this as in a real way as I possibly can. So, as I say always, thank you for being here. If you're still here, you're still watching this, I really hope you learned something. I really hope you go out there and you pursue big things and you try and go and achieve big things, but know that it's about the mentality, it's about the person you become that is the most significant on that pursuit of a big dream rather than the dream itself. I hope you know that. I hope you kind of understand that idea that I'm trying to bring to you today. But I thank you for being here and I appreciate you for watching this episode. And all I ask is that you show your support. Like the video, leave a comment telling me what you thought of it and telling me what you're going to be doing going forward. And subscribe. Subscribe if you're watching on YouTube and follow on Spotify. And I appreciate it. I appreciate the support. I appreciate you for watching this far. And I really hope that I gave you some value today. And that's really all I'm trying to do as I'm trying to improve this show every single day and be consistent and make good content every single day, as I'm trying to upload every day for 365 days. We're about 130 days in, and there's only going to be greater things going into the future. So if you like this episode, there are many other great episodes that I've already made that are kind of in this light and that I'm going to be making in the future that talk about things like this as well. So thank you. Thank you for being here. I encourage you to join the journey. I invite you along for the ride. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. And I'll see you tomorrow in the next episode. Continue to glorify God every single day in all that you do. Pursue those dreams, but know that it's about the person you become. That is the most important.